Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. I appreciate it. I hope you're doing well, staying safe, taking care of yourselves, all those kind of things. And if you're new here, I'm Jim. Great to meet you. Thanks for stopping by. I make tutorial videos here every week showing you how I edit my photos using various software products. Today's a first impression video. I've mentioned in a few videos that I'm looking at alternatives to Lightroom. There's a few things I don't like about Lightroom, and I've sort of just decided that I don't have to continue to use Lightroom. So I've made some videos about DxO, which I'll link to there, DxO Photo Lab, which is fantastic, and I really like the product a lot. I've also made some videos about On1 Photo Raw 2021, which I'll link to there, which is also fantastic, and I like that product quite a bit. But I'm naturally curious, and I'm just kind of checking out things, so I thought I would download Exposure X6, which is what I'm going to be previewing here today in this first impression video. It's a really powerful product. It's got some great features. I'll kind of walk through. This is not a detailed tutorial about anything in particular, and it's not a full review of all the new features because I didn't have the old version, X5, I guess, and therefore, I've read some of the things that say, hey, this is new, that's new, but I'm really just kind of sharing first impressions, which is me kind of walking around the app, talking about what I like about it, what I find interesting, and how it may be helpful to me and potentially you in your workflow. Here's the interface. One of the first things I like about it is that you can do what they call just bookmarking a folder or a drive. So one of the things I don't like about Lightroom is you got to import photos and they all get cataloged into that big database and catalog, and I don't really like that. I just kind of want a fast file viewer that allows me to just kind of rip through, look at photos, figure out what I want to edit or what I want to make a video about, and get busy doing that. That's one of the things I like about On1 and also DxO is that I can do that. Well, this is very similar. So another reason I was drawn to this photo editor. It just gives you so much power that you can do the previewing, but then also go straight into editing. So I'm over here on the left-hand side. By the way, you've got a navigator. So if you're on a photo like the one I have highlighted here, you can navigate. I'm going to close that. You've also got a histogram, of course. And I'm in the folder section. I'm just going to say plus and bookmark a folder or drive. I'm going to go to my desktop. And I'm going to grab this miscellaneous new test shots. I'm going to say open. These are just a random collection of photos from a few different outings here in Austin recently. And you can see how quickly it just shows me those photos. That's something I like about the product. Now I'm going to go back to this demo files folder, and I've got this photo here highlighted, which is just a road shot from New Mexico. And you can do a few things here. There is a history panel. I haven't done anything to this photo yet, so that's not active. It's also got a whole lot of presets built into Exposure X6, which I really like. So let's say you want to go for some kind of black and white look. You can kind of click on that, and as you go through, you can see that you can click on them and it'll show it in the preview window. I'm going to go ahead and double click that to bring the photo up large. Now it's tilted. I need to fix that, which you can easily do here in Exposure X6, but I'm going to go through, and as you click on these, you can just get different looks. It'll apply it even to this larger image, and even if I just hover over the look without clicking on it, it'll show me that previewed on my image as well. As you can see on the left-hand side, there's a whole lot of different categories. There's color ones, that sort of thing. So maybe you want to do some color Polaroid look. Well, there it is. Again, lots of options, a lot of different things you can apply to the photo. But of course, I tend to be someone that really likes to edit photos. So I'm going to hit reset. By the way, at the top here, you can remove that little layer. If you want to get bigger preview of your image, you can do the same on the left-hand side, which I'm going to do. This, by the way, is your before and after, and you can change the layout. I'm going to leave that. And on the bottom, just to clarify, you do have filters and ratings and things like that. So you can filter by star labels, color labels, things like that. And as you can see, I've got access to this entire folder of images down below by scrolling around, but I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that because I don't need that. I just want to show the image full screen. Now here on the right-hand side is where we get into the editing and the powerful capabilities of Exposure X6. The first thing I'm going to do is click on crop, and I'm going to straighten this because it is kind of driving me nuts, and I go ahead and hit enter. Now, one of the great things about Exposure X6, it does have a layers panel, so you can add new layers, but note that these are adjustment layers. They are not image layers, so you cannot do compositing or add a new sky or something like that. As far as I can tell, I'm pretty sure that's accurate. You might want to double check that, but I don't see a way to add an image layer. Again, this is a first impression. I don't know a whole lot about this product. I'm just sharing my initial thoughts, which are very positive, to be clear. But as far as I can tell, you can only add adjustment layers, which is fine. You don't always need to add image layers, and in fact, I've got countless other products that I can use to do that if I'd like to. Coming down here, if you're coming from Lightroom, which someone like myself would be doing, the right-hand editing panel is going to feel instantly familiar. You've got pretty basic stuff here, right, where you've got contrast, you've got exposure. You can do a lot of different things. Maybe you want to add a little bit of clarity, maybe you want to add some vibrance. Maybe those highlights are a little too much, I'm going to pull them down. I can go over here and click that before, and you can see the before and the after. I've made a nice visual impact on the photo with just a couple of basic edits here. But the basic stuff is always the basic stuff. It's fun to get into some of the other things as well. Now you've got sharpening, you've got noise reduction. I tested noise reduction on a really noisy image. It actually did pretty well. It's not amazing. I still think the best on a raw file is DxO Photolab, which I talked about in that video. But I think the noise reduction is respectable. There's some great color tools. It's got Luts built in, which I think is nice. You can click on there and you can just browse Luts, and there's a number of Luts built in. If you want to click on something and apply it, you can do so. Not a LUT that I would choose here, but you can also browse and import your own LUTs if you have them, so I think that's pretty cool. I'm going to hit close. By the way, on all of these filters on the right-hand side, you can just hit that little double circular arrow to hit reset and then close that. There is a really cool tool here called overlays, and that gives you the ability to add borders, light effects, and textures. So let's say you want to add a border to this. You can always click here and it'll bring up the different categories. So there's brushed paper, and again, just like with the presets, as you hover over them, these borders will change on the preview image. Let's say I want a Polaroid border. I'm going to do something like that. That's pretty cool, pretty fun. A lot of different options here. I'm not going to add a border to this one, and I'm going to hit reset to remove that. You've got light leaks or light effects, same kind of thing. Click here and you have the option to add these to your photo. And texture as well, of course. You've got the ability to do that. So there's a lot of different textures built in, and of course you can import your own just as you would expect. So again, lots of different options here, lots of different kind of texture families or packs that are built in, and some really cool things that you can do. And of course, once you apply them, you can adjust the opacity to impact how that looks on your image. I'm not going to add it here. I'm going to hit reset, but I wanted to share that because I think that overlay category is pretty powerful and pretty fun. There's options for focus where you can come in here and sharpen or blur if you would like to. There's grain, infrared, there's bokeh, lens corrections. I love that. It automatically picked my camera and my lens that I shot this photo with. This is a number of years ago. That's an open road somewhere in New Mexico. I don't even know if I could find it again if I wanted to, but it was a cool place and you can't beat the clouds, let's be honest. So lots of different options there. You've also got transform, which allows you to move it on the vertical, horizontal axis, things like that. So I'm going to hit reset, and it's got metadata. You can come in here, you can add your copyright and that sort of thing. And if you look at the keyword library, it actually has picked up the keywords that I've got on a lot of different photos that are in this folder, because a lot of those photos were initially held in Lightroom. I'm guessing it was able to pull keywords from that. I don't know for sure, but this is obviously not the Eiffel Tower or Eastern Europe, but you can see that you have the ability to add new keywords as well as pull from ones that already exist. I'm going to go ahead and close that and close the metadata tab. Let me show you another photo and show you a couple of other things that you can do. Oh, actually, before I do that, I want to open this right-hand panel. I'm going to close the presets, but I do want to show you history. You can see that your history is here, and you can go back and forth just as you would expect. I'm going to go ahead and clear that, but I wanted to point out that the history panel works just as you would expect, and it's helpful in case you want to back up a few steps or something like that during your editing. So here's a photo that I adjusted in Luminar previously. It's just a small JPEG, but what I want to do is show you one of the cool things you can do with their color tool. Now their color tool is very powerful. There's a lot of different things here. It comes like that, where you've got hue, saturation, and luminance. You can group it that way, or I like to choose compact. It shrinks that, and I've got hue, saturation, and luminance here across the top. But one of the cool things is this advanced color editor. I think this is new, I'm not sure, but if you click on that, this color wheel opens, and you've got the ability to convert colors, a from color and a to color. So let's say I like this red fender, but for some reason I wanted to make it a different color. You can come in here and click on that hue, and you can choose that, and that's my to color, as you can see in this red rectangle up there. And let's say I want to change it to blue like in the sky. So I'm going to choose that color wheel and the picker, and then I'm going to click on that, and you can see that I just changed my fenders to blue. Quick, easy, really powerful. It's a fun little feature. Again, I like the red. I'm not going to change that, but I wanted to point that out because that's a really powerful and interesting thing that you can do here in exposure, which I think is really fun and could come in handy on certain kinds of images. Okay, back in my main folder, and I want to show you the noise reduction real quick. Like I said, I think it's respectable. It's not as good as DxO, but it's something that I think people would look for in a RAW editor like this. So this is a RAW file. As I hover over this, you can see it's a .arw Sony RAW file. And if you look, you can see ISO 25,600. So I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to go into noise reduction, and I'm just going to pull the color and the luminance fairly high, and I'm going to actually zoom in a little bit as well, maybe not that much, and give this a moment to render, and then I'll show you what the noise reduction does on this image. And there we go. That took about 15 seconds or something like that, but if you look at the before, you can see that it's quite noisy. There you go, lots of noise all over the photo, and the after, it's been smoothed and reduced pretty significantly. Now, I also feel like I've lost a lot of detail in the photo, which is one of the reasons I think DxO is the best at this, because you can maintain the level of detail but yet get massive amounts of noise reduction. I think this is not as good, but this is also a 25,600 ISO image with a lot of noise. I think on an image that doesn't have a lot of noise, you'll probably get fine results here, but I just wanted to give you a quick preview of that feature as well. And the other thing I wanted to show you on the presets, which I think I forgot to mention, was if you come in here and do some kind of look like this, let's say, and apply it, and you like it, but you want to tone it down a little bit, there is an intensity slider, which is basically an opacity slider. Now, you take a look at this. What it's doing is the blend base is black and white. So if you want to compare but if you want to reduce the intensity to have a little bit of color bleed through, you need to change that to color, and you can see some of that color comes through. And the lower I'll go, of course, the more of that color is going to come through. But just keep that in mind, that you need to change the blend base if you're going to be comparing or reducing intensity on some of these looks and trying to compare that to what the original photo looked like. In this case, the original was a color, so I wanted to change that to color. Just something to be aware of. But again, I really am kind of excited about all the different options over here because there's so many different presets. And again, I think it's something that they're fairly well known for in previous versions. But I'm having fun playing around with it, and I think overall it's a really good product. And by the way, if you ever get something and you just end up not liking it, in the bottom right-hand corner, you can just hit reset, and that'll take you back to your base photo. Okay, my friends, so that's my first impression of Exposure X6. I like the product. I think it does a fine job with RAW files. I need to do some more comparisons to see how it handles RAW files compared to some of the other products that I use, but it seems to do fine. Noise reduction is not bad. There's a lot of different options on the right-hand side in terms of filters for editing your photos. So especially if you're coming from Lightroom, I think that's going to feel very familiar. By the way, I meant to mention this. I'm glad I just thought of this. You actually have the ability to customize the workspace. So I just went up into Exposure X6 menu and chose Preferences. If you click on Panels, you can see in the top left, which is up there, of course, it's got Navigator, Histogram, and Folders. Below that, Presets and History. And on the top right, Intensity Layers Toolbar. And then on the bottom right, you've got all the different tools here. So you have the ability to customize that, which I think is really cool. And the other thing I was able to do is I was able to go in and add Luminar AI as an external editor. So I use Luminar AI a lot. I love it. I'll continue using it. And if I wanted to use Luminar AI on this photo, I could do some basic edits here. And then I just hit Control and click, which is basically a right click. And then I could say Edit In. And then I can choose Luminar AI, and it'll send it over there. Now, keep in mind, it's not a full plugin. It doesn't round trip. It's basically just allowing you to set it up as an external editor. So it'll send it to Luminar AI, but it won't come back. When you're finished in Luminar AI, you would have to hit Save or Save As, and then save the photo wherever it is that you're planning to keep it. So I just wanted to clarify, it's not a full plugin workflow, but it does allow you to set up other products. It doesn't have to be Luminar AI, for example, but it allows you to set up other products as an external editor, which can come in really handy if there's things you want to do or take advantage of in some of those other products that you may use. I, for one, use several different products, but I use Luminar AI most of the time. And if I were to start here, I would want to make sure that I could go there, which of course I can. So I wanted to point out that feature as well. So I think that finally completes my first look, my kind of first impressions video of Exposure X6. Good product, lots of capability, lots of tools and filters, some really unique things. It's got adjustment layers, not image layers, but adjustment layers, which is cool. You've got the ability to customize the workspace. You've got the ability to add external editors to send your photo from here to somewhere else to do additional edits, or maybe complete an edit if you need to. And of course, it has a really powerful and quick, I might add, image viewer capability of just adding different folders, whether they're on your internal hard drive or on an external drive. Quickly add them and view them so you can get quickly into editing and doing the things that you want to do to your photos. So hopefully that gives you an idea what it's all about. I'll put a link down below if you want to check it out. It's not an affiliate link. I'm not affiliated with Exposure in any way. I'm just looking for options from Lightroom, and this is one that I'm going to consider as well. I like it. There's a lot of features about it. So far, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at On1. I'm looking at DxO. To be honest, we're spoiled with choices, my friends. There's so many things that you can consider, and there's plenty that I haven't even gotten to that I probably never will, but I'm having fun. And just wanted to share my first impressions. I hope it gives you some ideas of the things that you can do within Exposure X6. Overall, I give it a thumbs up. It's a nice product. I'll continue to explore more and see what else I can do with it. And then if you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll try to answer. But again, hey, I'm just as new to this as you may be, so I'll do my best to answer. But mostly, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Take care of yourselves out there, my friends. I'll see you later, and adios.